What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Pursuit Live. I'm going to be one of your hosts tonight, Rob Hommel here. We have a guest host tonight, Brandon Barlow. Brandon, thank you for being on with us.
My pleasure.
And our very special guest tonight, we have Mr. Brian Johnson of The Anatomy Hunter. Brian, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. We really appreciate you being here.
Well, it's an honor.
So, basically, long story short, what you've been doing and growing and everything else like that is absolutely incredible. It's something that I feel like every new hunter in every, hunter safety course should get an introduction to what you do and to kind of see the correct way of shot placement and everything else like that. Because you're really diving into it. You're showing people the anatomy of the deer and you're breaking down where those arrows are going, what they're hitting, what they're not hitting. So maybe, just starting off, let's go back to the beginning. How did you get into this? When did this start for you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, that'll take the whole show and you don't want to hear about me, but basically my background, I started out, I'm 69 years old. In 1974, when I graduated high school, I got into taxidermy. Okay. And this is pretty important to kind of understand because it's been a long journey. I've only been at this for a little over 2 years, but I've been doing this for trying to get this so you're not looking up my nose here. So my wife's trying to set this up a little higher, having me look down like this, she's saying. But anyway, long story short, when I started out in taxidermy in 1974, I got trifocals dorsal. When I look down, I can't see him. So anyway, long story short, I started doing taxidermy. They didn't have the mannequins. Like, do you have anything mounted, Rob, in your house?
Oh, I do.
You do. Okay. So what happens is if you take your deer head to the taxidermist, he'll take measurements of the deer, the size of the neck, size of the head. He'll go to a taxidermy supply company and he'll order a mannequin that fits it. Well, when I started, they didn't have any full mannequins. They were all made by scratch. They're literally made out of plaster molds, out of paper. And then the first foam ones came out there. The bottom line is the products were very poor. So I started getting into wanting to do things better. And so I started learning to sculpture. And to sculpture an animal, you've got to study the anatomy of the animal. So that started back in the late 70s. So I sculptured and sculptured and sculptured. And I've been doing this we just got done being married for 50 years, July 4th. And probably 47 years or so, 45 of those years, I've been sculpturing animals in many, many different forms. We carve them out of wood. I had the first licensed chainsaw carving school in the United States. We sculpture out of clay. Boy, we do all kinds of plaster casts of the dead animals. I mean, I've lived in fiberglass, plaster, blood, and guts. And it's all to do my own research because I've wanted to make the perfect white-tailed deer anatomically. That's what I was doing. So anyway, I pursued that for years. I helped start, it was my idea to start the Reinhardt archery targets. You've probably heard of them. So I do all their 3D animal sculptures. In fact, some of these in the background here, ones that I'm working on right now. I had my own taxidermy supply company, Revolution Taxidermy Supply, again, which I specialized in deer and bear. And I sold my taxidermy supply company to McKenzie. McKenzie's the biggest taxidermy supply company. They're kind of like Walmart. And I sold the archery targets company that I started, which I had a patent on. We can get into later. I can tell you where to shoot a deer, no matter how high you're in a tree, no matter what the angle of the deer, I can tell you within a quarter of an inch where the perfect shot is. So I ended up selling that to Reinhardt. And so then I don't have a manufacturing studio to be able to manufacture my new ideas that I have now. But what ended up happening is when I sold my patent idea of pinpoint perfect shot placement to Reinhardt, he didn't do anything with it. He didn't take it because it's very complicated. It's scientific. It's not a quick fix gadget that you make a bunch of money on, but it would teach people to kill deer. And that's what it was about. And it was I've got quite a few patents, and it was the biggest one I ever had because it could help. It would change the society of hunting that would end up with more deer being killed, which is what my goal is. Well, he didn't do anything with it. I was disappointed, but just like anything, you sell your house, somebody comes into your house, they don't run your house the way you did, you're sad, but you know what? You sold it. It's not yours anymore. So I gave up on my dream of changing America with this patent. Well, then I was out hunting elk in Montana. And in front of me was a bull elk about 100 yards. I looked up, we're out in an open meadow, and I saw this elk. And we were right out in the open. So there's just a quick tree my wife and I had right out in the open. We just dove behind it. My wife pulled out one of our many inventions. It's an elk hat. It's an elk decoy hat. Like if you can find it, Doris, I can maybe show them. You know where that's at. And we hold it on a stick. And what it's designed to do, and it worked, is you hit the brush by you to draw the elk's attention. Most other people, they try to hide. Here you want the elk to look at you.
Like the turkey hunters do. I forget what they call it, but
yeah, they call it.
They hide behind the fan and they kind of,
Yeah, except this is an elk. She's taking it out of the bag here. I'll show you. But what you do is you hold it sideways so the bull sees it sideways through the brush. You just lift it up. I'll grab it. It's right here. Okay, here we go. Here's that bag. See this here? You hold it here like this. You make some movement. So you see when the elk catches your attention, then you turn him. You look him in the face. So then you can literally work him from expression. And you turn it sideways, pull it away, and go down. When you're hiding behind, that way he sees what made the movement. Oh, it was an elk. Okay, there she is. Oh, guess what? She doesn't want to play. So you take it away, and then guess what he says? If he wants to play, he's got to come to her because what he wants to do is have her come to him, right?
Try to hurt her. Yep.
Well, wouldn't you know it? It actually worked. So and you got to realize we are not good at basically anything we do. We're not great hunters. We can't call. I can't shoot great. I mean, so when it comes to all these things, I'm one of the wannabes. Well, what ended up happening is this bull came in. It was a raghorn. He got within, I don't know, we're down on our knees. He was like 10 yards away, and I could just see his legs. My wife's to the left of me with this hat. She's literally down in the ground taking this hat up there, playing with him like this. And he's looking at this. You got to realize if you're an elk, he didn't know what in the world he's seeing. This elk cat down on the ground looking at him, but it caught his attention. He went to the other side of the tree on my side, and that's when I drew my bow. I drew my bow. He caught the movement. He jumped back. You know, like animals, they catch movement. They jump back. They stop. They look back. I put my pin on. My daughter asked, did you range him? What was the range? When you elk hunt, you got to make quick decisions. You don't pull all the stuff you see on TV, you range him, you sit it down. It doesn't happen that way. You got to go quick. So I pulled it up. I shot. I hit him. I saw him turn. I saw the arrow coming all the way out the other side. Perfect. I got him. I was on cloud nine. I got him. Because for us to get an elk is just like we won the lottery. I mean, we were really excited. He ran out there 100 yards. My wife put the hat down. She picked up the phone, our cell phone. We got the best phone. There's a Samsung with a camera on it. And she's got the elk going away. And it's got the blood coming down the side where I double lunged him. And I saw where the arrow came out because it's just hanging. It went all the way through him. It was just hanging on for a little bit.
Wow.
Oh man, I was doing a jig. You dead. I got you. He went a little ways, disappeared behind a bush, and I know I got him. So I went back to camp, spent 2 hours. It took me 2 hours to get back to camp to get a roll to be able to pull the meat out. Long story short, I got back. He wasn't there. He was out in the open. It's impossible. He's dead right in front of us. One of those things you look all over the place, but they're right there under a tree. I spent 3 days looking. And I was absolutely not upset. Well, that happens. No,
How far did he go? Was it like a liver shot or something?
Oh, here's the deal. How do I know I didn't find him? So I was devastated.
Yeah.
Blood stopped, and I found my arrow. Covered with lung blood, bubbles, solid blood, but there was a blade broke off. My 3-bladed broadhead, it was an Exodus, which I firmly believe in, but which I can get into. If we get into broadheads later in the deal there, I can tell you a lot about Exodus.
I've used Exodus. They're a great broadhead.
They're great, but since you brought it up, I will tell you about that now. They are an abs. I still use them.
I've killed probably 50 does with them.
You have?
Yeah.
Well, they are absolutely razor sharp, which I'm a fanatic on razor sharp, and you can shave with them generally after you go through the animal. In fact, I could shave with this elk, the broadhead that went through the elk. And here's the deal. Their blades, one of the reasons that makes them so good is the quality of their metal is such they can't be stamped out because they're brittle. Something that's really strong and
I think
holds.
they're using cryogenics too, which is I'm using Iron Will this year, but they're in the same league where last year I killed 2 deer with the same broadhead, and then I cut myself pulling it out of a root, like cut my thumb. Like, it's stupid how they stay so sharp.
Well, they have to use an EDM process to be able to cut the blades out because they can't cut them on a regular stamping deal. So, and I know Bill, the guy that owns Iron Will. I spend a lot of time talking to him. I'd like to go on a bear camp with him up in
Awesome people.
Yeah, he is. He's actually from Wisconsin. He's a professor, mechanical engineering.
I don't know them, only from my social media encounters. I speak of that, but yeah, great people.
He's a mechanical professor.
He's a genius. We had him on a few months ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I had him on. He showed me he's got a new turkey broadhead. He showed me before he put it in the market. I told him, the thing's not very sharp. Oh, man, I insulted him. And I had to apologize, but there's one little just nick in it because I'm fanatic on sharpness. And so anyway, we're off the subject on the broadheads. But anyway, what happened on the Exodus broadheads in the downside when something is real sharp and holds an edge, it is, and again, I'm not a metallurgy expert, but they're brittle. And when the arrow spins, what I believe happened, and I have evidence for this, it caught the edge of a rib. In the way that they're designed on the Exodus, they're attached in the front, right? And that's because they pull back over the arrow, over the shaft, and that allows them to fly better because they don't stick out as far, right? So if they're not off to the right or left a little bit, but they're more brittle. And so when it spins, I believe I caught the edge of the rib because I've shot these Exodus right into moose humerus bones, just smashed into them. They bent and twisted and they held up fantastic. Mm-hmm. But if you catch just the edge, that's where your leverage is, and it busted off. I mean, somehow I picked it up. That was my theory. But the bottom line was when I picked my arrow up, it was broke.
Yeah, I broke legs on the far side with them countless times.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, here's what was going through my mind out there in Montana. I had talked to Randy Ulmer. Now, you guys are young, but if you were old to school like me, Randy Ulmer was the Levi Morgan of his day. He's in the Archery Hall of Fame. He lives in Arizona. He shot just tons and tons of animals of elk and mule deer. But now here's what makes him a small G god to me. He's a large animal veterinarian. Because of what I'm doing to study anatomy, I also have to understand the physiology of death to understand when you hit an animal, how do they die? How does that work? And I've taken my actual organs to a university, I don't want to say which one, to their anatomy professor, and I've showed him actual organs, questions he went through, and he said to me, why would you shoot a deer in the lungs? Now, they realize this guy's not a hunter.
Because the leg was in the way.
Well, no, he says, why would you want to shoot him in the lungs? You'd want to shoot him in the liver because there's more blood supply in the liver.
Versus the heart, I guess. You were talking
with him not being a hunter, even though he's the anatomy professor to teach veterinarians, by not being a hunter, he didn't understand the dynamics of what happens when an arrow goes through the lungs versus the liver versus the heart. Randy Ulmer is a large animal vet who's in the Archery Hall of Fame and has killed tons and tons of elk and mule deer, as well as other animals. Here's what he had told me, and I didn't tell this to anybody because it sounds like quackery, except in my elk situation, I thought, could this be true? He said if you could put an arrow through the triceps of an elk. Now, the triceps is like in a deer, any animal you see, they call it the crease. Well, what is the crease is made because the bulging muscle that's in front of that causes the crease is a tricep. And it's 3 muscles together. And if that broadhead goes through there, through both, now this is what he told me, through both lungs, and you don't hit any major blood vessels, it is possible that animal could live. And I just thought, I'm not going to tell anybody this because nobody would believe this. I've never heard of that before. It does not make sense. But he's Randy Ulmer. So I had what the Bible calls a Selah moment.
Yeah.
Well, so here when I couldn't find this elk, I'm going, could this be double lunged and could he live? Well, what had happened when we came back, part of the story, which is bizarre, it took me 2 hours to get back to camp to get a roll. It's a roll to actually put the meat on to take it off these plastic little sleds. I got back. When I got there, my wife was waiting in for whatever it's worth, I'm not making this up, the exact spot where he disappeared behind the bush. I look and there's elk antlers. And I go, there he is. He's alive. And he got up and he started walking at us. And I'm like thinking, I used to smoke marijuana when I was a kid. That's a long time ago before I came to Jesus. And I'm just like, you have these moments of things are taking place. You must know it as cops. I could never be a policeman because I don't react quick. I'm very slow on things. I got to methodically stop, wait, think about it. And all of a sudden, this elk's coming at me, the same rack. And I'm going, this is impossible. And he's coming at me. So I've got to shoot him again. But if I shoot him again and that's not him, now I just violated. I shot another animal. So I'm desperately looking at his side for a hole. He didn't come really close for an easy shot. I didn't see any hole. And if doubt, don't, because he didn't look wounded. And I knew he'd be dead. And I let him walk. So, and that was before we went over there. So then we went over and looked. There was some blood and it stopped. Absolutely no blood. I found my arrow, solid cover with blood with bubbles, everything perfect, but no elk. And this was out in the open, just scattered trees. So I was like, could he have lived? But I didn't go through the tricep. I hit behind there. It wasn't a perfect shot, but it was still an easy double lung shot. So for 3 days, I couldn't find him. So here's what happened. I'd hunted with out there in Montana some guys that were in the Forest Service that do the fire. They put the fires out, like these fire jumpers. And that's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
This was their area where I shot him. I said, is there any way you could help find that elk for me? Because the one guy had a dog. Well, they know it was legal in Montana to look for a dog. But I said, if there's anything you could do to do it, I'll pay you $500. I'll pay you $1,000. I'll pay you $1,500. I'll pay you $2,000. And it wasn't that I wanted that animal that it's worth $2,000. It was I believe this was with God. And again, I'm not trying to preach, but this is my story. The Bible says, for it is God which worketh in you both to will and do of his good pleasure. I believe, at looking back now, that I was like, I don't want to say possessed of God because that's a bad word, but I believe it was God working in me to start the Anatomy Hunter. And I did not know it, that I had to know, did that animal live or did it die? And I was willing to spend $2,000 and they wouldn't do it. So what do? I shot one. I didn't want to shoot another one. You out west, if you hit one and you don't get it, you use your tag. It's kind of an unwritten rule, like on elk. It's a big deal. So I left. I had an antelope tag. I went antelope hunting, but I couldn't antelope hunt. I mean, I just wasn't into it. I was just thinking about that elk. If I'd find him, he'd be rotten anyway. He'd be dead. What do I do? We went back to look for the birds because I just had to know that birds would tell the story. So long story short, I got home. I was talking to my son on the phone, who goes out there and hunts with us. He hunts with us. He doesn't hunt, but he stays with us. So he'd been out there. He heard all the story about this. I drove in my daughter's driveway, said, I got to go, Jason. I'm at Jessica's house, his sister. I hung the phone up and my phone rang before I got out of the car. And it was my buddy from Montana, Matt. They found my elk.
How far did it go?
Well, he went a quarter mile.
Which isn't that far, but it's also a really long ways when you're searching for a needle in a haystack. By today's standards, like a drone, they would have found it in 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
But I lost a deer this year, and it's the first one I lost in a while, in a few dozen. And I was going to save this for the end, actually, but because you brought it up, it's a moral dilemma question about. You said it's an unwritten rule to use your tag when you wound an animal, but
that was out elk hunting. I mean,
but it is a kind of a morality question, because last year I encountered that, and I was in a situation living in the South where I have multiple tags. We get multiple buck tags in South Carolina and North Carolina. And so I wasn't in a situation where I couldn't hunt tomorrow because I just spent 8 hours looking for a buck. But I did think about that as, what if I was in a 1 buck state? Like, when do you hunt again? Can you hunt tomorrow? Do you keep searching? I mean, generally I'll put a few days into looking for a buck, but I think everybody's different. And I was going to save that to the end. But you brought it up, so it was perfect timing.
Yeah, and I am in no means wanting to put that on somebody else. In fact, I shot an elk earlier that I did not find, and I quit. And
I
honestly,
think we're hard on ourselves sometimes. I know I am.
well,
I
yeah,
search and search and search, and it's like, yeah. And maybe sometimes people don't search enough, but I think sometimes we're hard on ourselves too.
well, we're all different, and I
Yeah.
don't pass any judgment on anybody else. But I know when I look in the mirror, like I got a guy invite me down to Ohio this year. He's got these big bucks down there I could shoot. And I just know I'm no big hunter. For him to come down there and me get a big buck, I'm not worthy of that. So if I went down there and I shot a 2.5-year-old buck, I would be thrilled with that. What I'm worried about is I want to make a good shot. That's what matters to me more than anything else. And I'm not naturally a good shot, and I shoot every day, all the time. But that doesn't mean just because you practice a lot that you get good.
So here's a question.
It's true.
With the elk that was found,
Yep.
what happened?
Well, they took some pictures of it, but it was all just skin. The maggots got into it. So in the skin, it even moved on the body. So I couldn't end up telling from that. They didn't do any autopsy or anything like that, but they did get some pictures. They're very unclear in their poor phone. But what they did do is they gave me the coordinates of where it was. And then I didn't draw a tag till the following year. So I went out there and I got to find it. And it was kind of like going to a funeral. And I did a little reel there by him there. I actually found the rib bone where my broadhead hit it. And we did a video on which rib that it was. And it was right on the edge, just like I thought it. It just clipped the edge of it. And again, that would give you the leverage. If you're on the back end of that blade and you pushed it like this when it was spinning, well, it snapped. So I that's more evidence to be able to prove that my hypothesis of how that blade broke was on the edge. Like that. Yeah.
Even if the animal was moving 30 miles an hour, I mean, that was only a minute or two and he was there,
Yeah, depending. This gets into, which we can get into if you want to right now, what are the hypothesis of how he died? Because remember I told you to begin with to challenge me because I base things on fact. Well, if I didn't get the animal, I can just give you my opinion. Where I just did the sports show that I told you about in Minnesota that we just came back from, I played 5 videos up there. They were, maybe 7 of them I think I played. 5 of them of bears, where it was the actual video of them seeing the bear shot. And then I would raise my hand, do you think the bear was harvested? Or do you think it wasn't harvested? And I don't believe one person got it right. All of just 4 bears or 5 bears.
I'd probably get that wrong. I don't bear hunt. I mean, Rob, his pro at it. I don't bear hunt, and I know their vitals are in a different location, so I would most likely fail that quiz.
Well, I did 2 deer too, and I don't think anybody got either one of the 2 deer right.
Yeah,
that's the deal. Is when you see videos, and almost every time when I take a look at them from what I'm seeing with my eyes, it just turns out when you examine the animal, it's completely different. It's like, how can that be? That doesn't make sense where that arrow went, where it came out there. And you start thinking, and then we got to try to put you guys are cops. You are at least, Bob. So I don't know if you get crime scene, you get stuff that are facts, and they add 2 and 2, but the answer is 5 and you got 4 and you're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
That's what happens in these situations. There's a lot to it to put all the pieces together, and they don't fit right off the bat.
I would have never thought an animal could live being double lunged. I heard your story earlier, and ironically, that was one of the posts that I really enjoyed on your page earlier today. I watched that. That you were discussing an animal that lived being double lunged. And that's really mind-blowing to me. I think sometimes we hear guys say, like, he was hitting no man's land. And what my experience has been actually harvesting quite a few deer that have that infamous no man's land scar when you see him the next year and he's got that tenderloin scar, she does. What I find is they actually were one-lunged a lot of times and they lived. So I know they do that for a fact. I know they can live on one lung. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I find it very shocking they can live on being double-lunged, being like the pressure. And I just find that shocking. That's crazy.
It is, and I've got 3 different situations that I know of. But here's what I don't have. I don't have the lungs in my hands to be able to show photos of that this animal was hit on video. Here's where the arrow came in and came out in these lungs, and it lived later. I've got people I have interviewed, and one of them is in the Grand Slam Club of Archery. He is the main guy behind one of the number one bow companies, probably the number one bow company in the United States. His wife shot it last year with an iron will. It went into the left lung, went through the mediastinum, which if we get into the physiology of death, I can tell you about that. Hit the other lung and out the front. They couldn't believe it. A perfect shot. They didn't get it. Comes late season. I don't know if it's 2 weeks or a month or 6 weeks later, they shot it and they got it. But he didn't save the lungs. And he said, I go back and get him. Yes, please. And he didn't. Because for what I'm doing, that's gold. I need that right now. I would have all the photos of showing you this in and out in the carcass, but I need the lungs to show it. So I've got 3 or 4 different cases, but I don't have the lungs. And that's what I need to be 100%.
So interesting to follow that up a little bit. Chris recently was in Africa. We both use iron will broadheads. We absolutely love them. It's some of the sharpest, steel I have ever used.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. I'm not going to say complaint because there's nothing that you could complain about when it comes to iron will broadheads. They cut almost too clean was Chris's thing, where on some of these larger animals, he had no blood trail. Drops of blood, and he hit really well. It's something that we'll go over with him at some point. But that was his thing. Like, it almost cut too smoothly and didn't give him enough ripping inside.
I wonder if there was tallow or like what kind of animals, because generally, like if you cut like the top of the heart off, it's a wrap. And it's
Absolutely.
It's gonna look like a 5-gallon bucket.
I want to say it was possibly like a kudu, which is a large animal.
I'm not familiar with like which animals have more, because I've hit bucks in the chest with like a 30-06 and they hardly bled. I found them in 40, 50 yards, but they didn't really bleed. And then other times, which Brian is the expert on, times it looks like you poured a bucket out.
Yep. I can tell you some evidence. Again, I'm learning. I know a lot, but there's a lot I don't know. But here's what I can tell you, which will make a little bit of sense. And this gets into the physiology of death and understanding how they die, and the fact that it's too sharp that it doesn't tear. You cut it. It's cut. It's bleeding. If you cut a hose clean, there's pressure in that hose that's coming out. Whether you tear it or not, it's coming out. So I know another guy that's got a brand new broadhead that he just put on the market right now. I just saw it on TV this week. He showed it to me at the ATA last year. He's another one of these big names. You go to the ATA, you meet all these people, right? So then they come up to me and then they ask me questions too. And you know what he asked me? And again, I'm not going to say his name because he's one of the biggest names there is in the industry. He said, does it matter if you have a sharp broadhead? And I just thought, again, it was like one of these drug moments. Like, well, what kind of, to me, it's like, what kind of stupid question is that? We talk, you do anything, sharp broadhead, sharp broadhead, sharp broadhead, sharp. His engineer told him they don't want him sharp. It doesn't make any difference. Well, all you need to do is take a dull broadhead to your arm. You got the little vein sticking up in your arm, and you run a dull broadhead across your arm, and you'll see what it does. They flex. They push down out of the way.
Yeah, you can push them out of the way. That's how I understand it.
Yeah, you take something that's razor sharp, like that Exodus, it'll go through, and you can't even hardly tell that it's just a clean, beautiful cut.
You tell Chris his bow's too fast, so he needs to turn it down to 50 pounds. That's how.
I can tell you why we don't want to miss on why there's not blood on some. Very, very important physiologically.
Yeah.
Now, we can get into the physiology of how they die when they're shot through the lungs. But to go right to this point of answering sometimes why you don't have blood, when you shoot an animal through the lungs, this is going to be a dumb question, but it's very important. Where does the blood, what is the source of the blood when you shoot them with the lungs come from?
Usually aspirating.
Yeah, but where's the blood come from?
Inside the chest cavity, or the sac that holds the lungs, right?
No.
The heart?
No. You hit them through the lungs. The blood's got to come from the lungs somewhere in the lungs, right? But the catch is where and how this works. The lungs are filled with capillaries. They're real tiny little ones because, you got to take the oxygen both ways and do all the stuff in their villi and all that they do. So they're very small. So they're capillaries, but they still bleed a lot. But here's the catch. If I ask you where it comes from, and then you say the lungs, and we get into that, that's not the real point. The point that's different on the lungs than most any other organ is this. When they die from a double lung shot, not just from the hemorrhaging, which if we never finish the story on my elk, but this is going to be pretty important. What happens is the lungs have a pneumothorax, which means they collapse. That's a tension pneumothorax. When they're hit with a broadhead or an arrow, they get blood in the lungs. That's called a hemopneumothorax. But what happens is when the lungs collapse or they partially collapse, where do you find them when you gut a deer? If you ever gut a deer, like what we do, we lay them on the side, we cut the ribs open, and we look in from the side so you don't have gravity there. The lungs, I'll ask you to try to answer that question.
They fall forward.
They go forward.
Yep.
And what about the part of the lung that's forward of the heart? Where does that go? And the part that's above that, where does that go?
Well, I know the part that it actually pushes the heart down in a way, right?
Absolutely does. You are absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. But what happens is when they collapse, and remember, they can be partial collapse. There's a whole bunch of things are just not black and white. But what happens is the lung will collapse or as it lose air, it will go down around the heart. So if the source of the blood is the capillaries in the lung and it moves, the source of the blood coming out from the lung is not aligned with the hole that you hit when you went in.
Which explains why you're looking for aspirated blood. A lot of times they don't bleed. A double lung, they don't always bleed on the ground a lot. Yeah.
Right. And part of that is the lung.
That makes perfect sense.
Blood is coming out is going towards the heart. So the blood coming out is not aligned with the hole in the heart.
I see that a lot. I mean, I know for a fact, like when I take a shot on a deer, if I always wait for that leg to move forward so that I can sneak it in the armpit, right? But sometimes, especially here in the South, when you're hunting the jungle, you only got a limited lane or whatever. And if that leg is forward and I got to crack that shot off, I'll usually go back, but I'll go up a little and get the double lung. And so I know on those shots, like I'm looking like belt buckle high for blood because they don't bleed on the ground. And I never really did understand why. And that's a perfect explanation.
Yeah, that's a hypothesis. I can't say I've proven it, but it
makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it does. And you made a point that I've never heard anybody make that is right. When you go for the heart shot down low, there's a big problem with that. And what you said is, if you got to go back, you go up higher. And the lungs, as they go back farther, go up.
Hit the liver. I've shot a bunch of does. I mean, I'm a learn the hard way guy, so I've learned that you can't just go straight back. If you don't move that leg forward, you got to go up a little because I've shot them in the liver and they go a mile. It's ridiculous.
Now, remember I told you the videos that I played this last weekend in Minnesota? We had 5 bear videos, 2 deer. One of them was a deer that was shot that I'm guessing 75% of the people say was shot in the heart. And I tell them it was not shot in the heart. It wasn't shot in the lungs. Now, if you think it's heart shot and you miss the heart, you get the lungs. It wasn't shot in the lungs. It was shot in the liver. Nobody believes it. What happens is it's my editor who's a professional killer. I mean, this guy shoots up to 900 hogs a year in Texas. But this was a doe that he shot. We call it Gavin's doe. He shot it would have been right straight where the heart would be, just a little behind it, but it angled backwards a little bit and it was real low. So he actually went behind the heart. And what happened is he actually, and this is the one thing that I'm learning, that's the second animal I've seen that went in the thorax cavity, which means it's from the diaphragm forward. And it was hit low. The other one was a hog. It went through there and it did not hit any lung.
This is broadside?
It was quartering on a little bit. So he would have been in right behind the heart, but at the bottom of the heart, really low, but it angled back. And what happens is during the breathing process, our diaphragm goes forward and back, right? And our ribs go in and out, right? So they do that. The deer was hunched over because people say, how could he possibly, the liver's way back there. He's right by the heart. How could he possibly hit it? Well, I can show you a little bit of this model right here. You know what this is? This is this monster bear that I just shot in Canada. I tried to say he's 150 pounds. It's probably 125. I molded this heart here in the cavity because what I want to do a bunch more of this. Like I'm going to go on some deer hunts this year. I want to do more of that there. But what happened is it was done the next day. And you see this big thing right here. Here's you know what this is? That's the diaphragm. And the reason it's pushed so forward, so close to the heart is I left the guts in it overnight. In other words, we shot him. I got
They bloated.
What's that?
They bloated.
They bloated and it pushed forward. Well, what happened on Gavin's doe is when it bent over, the stomach was pushing it forward. And it allowed it, if it has a full stomach, just like me, when you bend over like that, or if you get, I lost 50 pounds, so I know the difference in my breathing when I've lost weight versus when I was there. Same thing with a woman. See, a woman's pregnant, she can't breathe as much, the diaphragm can't go back. But the liver, when the stomach is pushed forward and the diaphragm goes forward, exhaling, and there's a lot of food in the stomach, and it's bent over, the liver is the farthest forward on the deer at the bottom, just like the lungs are the farthest back on the top. It's just the opposite of the liver, because the liver goes all the way back on the outside down, all the way up to the kidney is where it starts. But it's literally like sewn right to the diaphragm. So as the diaphragm comes in and out, the liver goes along for the ride with it. So
I never really understood that they traveled like that. I always thought anatomically they were just really close together. And so whenever I'm taking a shot on a deer with say a rifle and that front leg is back, I'll smash through that leg and I'll get what I want to get, right? But
Sure.
with a bow, you can't do that. And so you've got to wait for him to step forward. So I've always assumed when that leg is back, because that elbow blocks, I mean, the heart's not very big, so that elbow blocks it. And I always just assumed the liver was right up against it. And so if you just simply move off of the elbow, you're on the liver. And I learned that the hard way, but I never realized it actually moves. That's interesting.
Well, I've never hardly talked to anybody that knows as much as you have so far in your comments.
Only because I've failed by, I think, so let me throw myself under the bus. So I shot 3 deer by moving off of that elbow. I always knew you got to wait for my dad everybody told me, right? You got to let them step forward with that leg, right? We all heard that. Well, there were 3 instances where I just pulled straight back off that leg, and I actually lost those deer. Could not figure out why. And that was in 2 seasons. The 3rd season, I went in and I shot a buck the same way, and it was a mature buck, and I refused to give up. And so I found that deer like a week and a half later with a liver shot, and it was like a mile away. And that was when I realized the other 3 deer were damn liver shots. And if you pull back off that elbow, you got to go up a little. Yeah.
You have absolutely
4 deer it cost me, but
yeah. But I mean, you are absolutely right. And I don't know if I've ever talked to anybody else that knows that. And I've talked to a lot of people because this is what I do. So yeah, that's something that you know that, but you're absolutely right. So, but the liver, now, to give you an example as far as how much they move, a friend of mine shot a doe. If you go on our website, you follow some of the things, it's called Randy's 10.5 rib doe. And again, what I have to do in my business is to quantify where somebody shoots something. I go by what rib they hit, and I count the numbers. Like bears have 14 ribs, deer have 13 ribs, and you count from the back forward, 14, 13, 12, and so on like that. So he had a deer quartering on him, but we reenacted, I believe it was 45 degrees, is a shot that would have been, I think we figured it was impossible to double lung it. But again, he wasn't into anatomy at that time, and I filmed it, and he shot her. And she ran 100 yards. We had brand new fresh snow. We saw her limping. We saw where she went to bed down. So we knew she was going to die. And so long story short, we found her that night. He said she was shot through the liver, he thought. And I said, no, you didn't hit the liver. He said, we didn't find out. You don't know it. I said, she's not hit through the liver. And I said, well, you don't know that. I said, she's not hit through the liver. I didn't want to tell them why until it was done. But the reason I knew it is he hit her on the left side and the liver's on the right side of the animal. So I knew he couldn't hit the liver. But he hit the 10.5 ribs. Now that's all the way back to the farthest part on the ribs where they stick out. You know, if you take it from the top view on it where the ribs stick out and they go back in, the widest part, he hit that, and that's the arrow angled back. and he hit the lung. And I had the guy that owns Victory Arrows. You're probably familiar with Victory Arrows.
A little bit, yeah.
Video when that was being edited. He was down in Texas, and my editor's in Texas. He saw that video and he said, there's no way that deer was hitting the lungs. But what we did is we go back and we put air into the lungs if we can. It all depends where they're hit. We inflated the lungs where the hole in the lungs lined up with the hole in the carcass. Because when we skin them out, we'll take all the meat off the ribs, but where the arrow went in and came out, we'd leave the meat there. We blew it up, inflated the lungs. It lined up absolutely perfect. Couldn't believe how far back the lungs went. The next week, the same guy shot a doe at the 7th rib, and he just clipped the end of the lungs. And I did that with the buck that I shot this last year. I had with the Exodus, 2 blades went through the liver and 1 blade went through the lung on the exact same shot. In other words, the broadhead went right between the liver and the lung. I got the liver in the freezer. I've got tons of photos. We haven't done the reels and done everything. I want, when we get caught up with our work, I'm going to do that this fall. But it went into the liver. 2 blades did, and it made the 1 blade that went through the lung also cut 1 channel right down through the liver. And I came out so far forward, and I hit him higher. There's no way that you would believe that that was a liver shot. But again, that breathing process, how they move. That's why I want to have 1,000 animals shot on video to make a library so people can go there and see, okay, let's say a far back shots. Let's take high shots. Let's take neck shots, whatever it is.
I did that same shot with a rifle between the lungs and the liver.
You did.
Where I grazed both. I was going to joke and say that's where you need a 1.5 instead of a 1-inch broadhead. But I've done that with like a 280 Remington where I caused a wound channel that kind of went right between both. And that deer went a long ways because of it.
It did. It did. Yeah. See, now mine went through the first lung, so it was double lunged as well, which again, if we need to talk about the physiology of death, we have to talk about the difference between how they die from a double lung shot versus single lung. Okay. Because if they die from hemorrhaging, you hit a single lung. If you go from top to bottom, you hit the big part of the lung, you should have enough blood for them to die. But the dog trackers, who are the experts that I want to deal with, because who's got more experience than the dog trackers, right? They know way more than I do. Yep. They will tell you that by far the majority, 75% to 90% of the single lung animals live. Yeah. And I just talked to one over this weekend, and they say now when they get a single lung shot, if they have the land, they will push the animal to get it to die quicker. But you've got to have a blood trail. You got to have the land. It's got to be fresh. And there's an argument to that versus let the animal, if it lives, it lives. If it dies, to not push it. But
I've killed a bunch with that, with what they call a no man's land scar, which I was talking about earlier, which I find is like a 1 lung. Yeah. I've killed a bunch that way, and I know it's a little taboo-y to say, but out east here on the East Coast, I know the elk hunters have always taken like long shots and stuff, but a few years ago when you really started seeing like a lot of guys practicing in their backyards at like 100 yards, I'm not saying that everybody takes unethical shots, but it's only been the last few years where I've really been shooting a lot of deer that have been 1-lunged. And I can't help but correlate when I see someone take like a 120-yard crack. I'm like, I hope they're not doing that on deer, because I think I've killed my buck last year had a broadhead in him, and it was up high and near between his shoulder blades and his back. Yeah. But I've seen them live on the 1 lung quite a bit.
Well, Brian, you long range and elk. Oh, did I interrupt you, Rob? I'm sorry.
So we have a question with this topic. Outdoors and More with the Squatch, our good friend Squatch. Here's his question. Brian, have you ever heard about deer having the flap between their lungs that shut one down like humans have if they get hurt?
Wow, that's interesting. That's new to me. And remember, like I said, I want to know what the truth is. So I would like to learn more about what's behind his question, because just because I haven't doesn't mean there's more to this that I need to know. Because we do have to talk about, we never did finish about the single lung, double lungs, how they die. But no, I haven't, but that doesn't mean that there's not something there I don't know about. That's a good question. I'd like him to, whatever information he has on that, I'd like to forward that and follow up with it afterwards.
Absolutely.
That's
So
good.
going back to your elk story, we can
Yeah.
probably tie that and the double lung,
Yeah,
single
that's
lung
it.
up both together.
You got it down. You're absolutely right. Okay. This gets into what I call the physiology of death, how they die. Because remember earlier we talked about the lungs and the movement of the blood, single lung. They have the other lung that still allows them to live. So let's get into how they die when they're shot through both lungs. When I was up on stage this last weekend, I took a balloon up there. I had a balloon and I took a broadhead and I popped it. And I said, that's what most people think happens when a deer is shot through both lungs. Their lungs are popped like a balloon and they collapse and then they die. It's literally just the opposite. What happens is the lungs, just ask you this question. When we breathe in, our diaphragm goes back, our intercostal muscles on our ribs pull out, the muscles that you eat when you have ribs, they pull out. That makes the thorax cavity bigger. So when it's bigger, it's called Boyle's law. When any given space gets bigger, it makes negative pressure. And then the air we breathe is a positive pressure to the negative pressure in our lungs. And it goes in our lungs. And the opposite, when they go back in, it pushes the air out, positive, negative. Well, what causes when we breathe out, or like a balloon, you let all the air out of the balloon, but our lungs still stay inflated, albeit not really inflated, because they go all different degrees of inflation. But when we breathe out, your lungs are still inflated. So the question is, if you're breathing it out and your lungs are at the same, you're breathing in and out, so it's an open chamber to the air we breathe, how do your lungs still stay inflated? How that doesn't make sense. They should be like the balloon until you force air into them, they don't inflate. And the reason is on the out, and this is very, very important on broadheads and why they do die quicker with rage in these expandable broadheads. There is a science to why they kill quicker. And that is this: from the outside of the lung to the inside of the rib cage, there's a membrane that in my mind, I call it a sock, like a sock that, your foot and your shoe there. And that membrane is called the pleural membrane. And in the gap between that, and they call it a space, but there is no space. There's just a little bit of liquid there. That liquid in that space causes a physiological negative pressure. And that has, in my vernacular, not a medical term, it sucks the lungs or vacuums the lungs to the outside or to the inside of the rib cage. And that keeps them inflated even when we exhale. Okay. And so that negative pressure is what keeps the lungs inflated. When you break that seal by putting a broadhead, a bullet, anything through there, then remember, that's a negative pressure. Then the air pressure will come into that space and break that seal, and it will force those lungs, just like you said, down, and it displaces the heart. When it displaces the heart, the blood, because of the lungs being smaller, the blood vessels are constricted, the heart's pushed forward, the blood cannot return back to the heart, which if that happens in a human, their neck veins, the blood coming back through veins, arteries that's going from the heart, it can't get back there. And then there's a lack of oxygen. And that's why you see a deer can breathe, but it goes down, it's dizzy. So from that lack of oxygen. Well, what happens is on a single lung shot, you still have that other lung, and that's not collapsed, and that doesn't displace the heart. When you hit both of them, then it displaces, it goes down, and it goes through the death process. But here's the catch on broadheads. Why you see on the mechanicals, when we use rage, because that's been around forever, you see all the time, they don't get much penetration, but the animal dies. And it looks like, man, it's a single lung. How did it die? Here's the physiological reasoning behind it. If you hit just one lung, but the membrane that separates the right lung from the left lung, okay, it's called the mediastinum. The mediastinum is, you know about it. When you gut a deer, you put your hand all the way forward, you grab the esophagus and trachea, you run your knife up there so you don't cut yourself when you cut it. And what do you got to do? You got to, you got to tear it out. What you're tearing is the mediastinum is a membrane that's attached to the backbone, the sternum, and both lungs are attached to it. And a bunch of the organs and blood vessels flow right through the middle of it. It's just kind of like an invisible, clear saran wrap. But that's what separates the two lungs, which is why a single lung can live. But if you get that broadhead through and you just cut that membrane, you don't even got to hit the lung on the other side.
I've seen this in the South with guys using buckshot. I've been amazed before at how rapid a deer can expire when shot, let's say, by 3 or 4 pellets through the lungs versus
Really?
a broadhead or just
Oh, wow.
150 grain Hornady. You know what I mean?
No,
I have been very surprised at how quick they expire from buckshot, and I'm not condoning it. I don't use it myself, but I've seen that.
I would love to see that. I would love to see the holes going through the mediastinum and through both lungs.
You penetrate it 3, 4, 5 times, I think it expedites it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see that's like I say, I'm gonna
Essentially, it's like 22 going like the wound channel. If you've ever shot ballistic gel with a 22, it's a substantial wound channel. So when you've got several of those going through that membrane you're talking about, it's probably devastating.
So I have a question.
yes, sir.
Let's say, like you said, you hit a one lung.
Yep.
When it comes to mechanicals, so I'll use fixed. I use iron wills. When I use mechanicals, I use these. These are nap kill zones. It's like a 2.5 inch.
Yep.
If this doesn't go all the way through, what I learned was that the deer is now running. The front legs are hitting, or at least the one front leg is hitting the arrow, and the broadhead is just literally sitting inside that one lung, just tearing it up. Is that going to make any difference?
Of course. Remember, they die for two main reasons when they're shot. So hemorrhaging, blood loss, and the lungs collapsing, which is the pneumothorax. In the case of when there's blood there, it's a hemopneumothorax. And one of the questions I have, Rob, is this. And I don't think anybody could ever answer. I've talked to a lot of medical people, but what percentage of the death of a deer when they're shot through both lungs results in the hemorrhaging loss of blood from the capillaries in the lungs or hitting veins or arteries, because there's all that going through there, versus hemopneumothorax? And because it's a combination of both. But from what little that I'm trying to learn, because I don't know how you could qualify to get that answer, is the pneumothorax, in other words, the collapsed lungs, are more important to the killing that animal than the loss of blood. But your broadhead, when it goes in there, the more that you cut, the more blood loss you have, which could be why you could have a single lung hit. And you may hit with that a major artery that's in there that you wouldn't have hit without it, and then it dies as a result of that artery. So yes. But more important it is, if you can get through that one side lung and cut a hole in that membrane. Now remember, it's that air that comes in from the outside that collapses the lungs. It's not the popping of them on the inside. In fact, when the animal breathes in, when you shot him through both lungs, the air comes in through that wound channel, but it has to migrate to the outside of that hole to collapse the lungs from the outside. Isn't it amazing? It's just the opposite of what we think.
Yeah. We did have another question. It's actually from the YouTube page.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on neck shots?
That was one of my questions. Because I'm forced to take them a lot. So I was going to ask that question.
Archery or gunshots?
I'd never do it with a bow, so maybe we'll let the guest ask.
Archery.
So we're talking archery? Oh, boy.
I'm assuming it was, well, listen, I don't know where somebody's going to shoot. Could it be a bad shot? Yes.
To piggyback on that, I mean, that was my question. I had something behind it. I mean, I take a lot of neck shots. I live in the South where it's a lot of jungle. And so my two big questions tonight for you were frontal and neck, because I'm forced to take both quite a bit. I have some experience with both, and from a neck shot perspective, I absolutely will take a neck shot with the rifle. And I wanted to get some of your some of your insight on that. I've only ever had success. I've never neck shot one and lost it. That being said, I've even let youth neck shoot does with a 223, and it's devastating, right? Like they go down immediately, like they got hit by lightning. So never had a bad experience, but I wanted to get your input on neck shots too. But I don't have any experience with a bow, and maybe it's because I'm scared because I've never tried it.
Well, first off, on guns, I'm not an expert on them. And that's an area that I need to get into, which is why I need a team of people around me that are experts that I can learn from, that we can have this all down. Because in other words, that's a deficiency in me. So let's deal with it from an art, because again, the shock of a bullet, something they claim you don't even end up having to hit the backbone. If there's enough shock there, it's going to go down. But now you're dealing with different calibers, different powers, different shock, different broad. So you've got all that dimension involved there. And if you do get that and they go down quick, there you have it. My perspective is simply this. Real simple. It's real simple.
I pull center mass.
Well, if I put a paper plate out there, let's just say 50 yards, okay? And you pick up your bow or your rifle, and the object is to hit the paper plate, you can hit it anywhere you want. But if you hit the paper plate, you win the prize. What part of the paper plate are you going to aim at?
The middle.
The middle. So
The edge usually for me.
what?
Well, the edge of any target. So if I'm shooting at a circle, I always aim for the edge.
You got me now there. I've never heard that before.
Little Kentucky windage. He's aiming at the top so it drops in.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm picturing when I hang a paper plate on my big target, like my bale of hay, I'm usually aiming for the edge of the plate. Is that not like you guys don't aim for the edge of the circles?
No,
You're not rifle shooters?
Directly in the center of that plate.
Gotcha.
I gotta, everything you've said has been so good so far, and then you come up with that. You gotta educate me, my friend, because
Well, I'm glad that's exposed because you should never listen to anything I say.
no, you've come up with some of the best stuff that I've ever heard from anybody. I'll be honest with you. But
We're blessed to have Brandon with us.
well, thank you, Brandon. Well, let's
Thank
just
you,
look at it from a common sense standpoint. If you want to hit the plate, if you aim in the middle, that gives you the largest target. So you can go high, low, right or left, and still hit the plate, right? I mean, if that's what your object is. If you're trying to hit it for some other reason because you're a good shot and you want to do it, but if you want to hit it, that's what you want. So to me, the question that I have asked when I got into this, where is the spot on the deer that I can shoot at and miss and still kill the animal? So when you say center mass, that is absolutely right. But the answer to that question has to do, remember I told you I had that patent earlier that I've got? And they didn't like it because it's complicated. It's not just like here or here where you point at something. You know where that spot is? It's in the middle of a 3D object where a paper plate in an archery target that you shoot at has a circle on the side. So people are always looking at where the arrow goes in, or they're looking at the opposite shoulder, or they're looking between the legs. So they're shooting that way.
That's why I'm always trying to break the far leg. If I break the far leg, I usually find my animal fast.
Absolutely. But to do it scientifically, absolutely perfect. If you were to take the paper plate analogy, which is flat, but if you were to take the lungs out of the deer and put them on the table here and inflate them, you put the liver there and the heart. So it's what I call the vital organ group. So you have that, and then you find where is the geometric center of that. What you're going to find is it's not on the outside. It's in the middle between both lungs, about 2 to 2.5 inches behind the heart. So if you could picture the live animal with the heart in the live animal, you go to his back and you drop a marble down. The marble goes through his backbone all the way down, and it lodges like a tumor right behind the heart. But it's in the middle of the deer. So every angle that you take and you shoot, that arrow is going to go through that center axis right there. And that is where the absolute largest kill zone is. And I'm in the process of making a target that's going to have that incorporated into it, that hopefully, if we get it done, is going to come out in January at the ATA. But it's guaranteeing we'll kill, I'm hopefully hundreds of thousands of deer, because you're going to have a target to shoot at to show you, within a quarter of an inch what the perfect shot is. Well, right now, if you go to 3D archery shoots, and like I say, I scope for all the Rhinette archery targets. They're around me right now. I'm working on them all day today. They teach you to cripple animals because they have the kill zone in a certain spot, and you shoot at it if you want points, no matter if you're up or the deer's up or your deer's down, or no matter what angle it's turned. You got to hit that point. So it's teaching you to shoot that point. And I've seen on TV over and over where the deer's angled away, they hit it right there where the heart would be, right by, and they think it's absolutely perfect. And look, that deer lived. Can you believe that deer lived? I hit it exactly where I aimed.
That's why I don't use 3D targets. I find that it's misleading, and I only know that. I'm no expert like you, but I only know that because I've had the, I don't know, at the time I guess I thought it was an opportunity and a blessing, but in hindsight, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, the meat was all well used and stuff, but I've had the opportunity to fill a lot of depredation permits for a lot of farmers. And so I've learned the hard way bad shots. And I think that I think everything that you're doing is great, honestly. I had a great time on your page. I'm going to spend a lot more time. I'll check out your website too. And
Well, what I need to do is put a commercial in. Like I say,
yeah,
this is ministry. I don't make any money. I don't have I've never had a penny given to me. I probably got maybe over a couple $100,000 into this doing it. I don't know if it's that much, but I took a 2-year cut and pay of $75,000 a year for 2 years. So I had 150 right there off the bat. But here's what I need. My goal is the perfect kill shot documentation project. The result of that is I want to have 150,000 deer that are crippled every year. Instead, I want them killed by my teaching. But we need that library. We need that library so people can go there and have evidence and see it, and we answer all the questions so there are no questions.
I don't use buckshot, but I mean, I'll buckshot one for you if that's what it takes.
No, I need what I need is
It take an hour down here in the South. We got so many damn deer.
Well, if you could go to our website and check out what I need for the perfect kill shot documentation project. It's basically if you get the video if you can get the kill on video so people can see it, then it's a hunt people want to watch it.
Sure.
Then it's done. It's simply this. You get a photo of where the arrow went in from the outside in the fur and where it went in and came out. Then you skin it and you see on the carcass where it went in and came out. And then when you gut it, you take photos, evidence of exactly what was hit. And then you count what rib was hit where it came in and came out. That way, because right now bears are the big thing that we're into, because the big thing on bears is do you shoot them in the middle and where it's at and what rib. And that's why I need a lot of bears shot in the places to know.
Are you only interested in archery and bears?
No. Deers primarily. It's just lately I just got back from bear hunting. I just got done doing a bear show. So, but no. Deer is probably what, 99%. So
I'll get up with you afterwards, and I'll definitely enter something for you.
Yeah, no, that would be very,
cool.
very appreciative.
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question, if you don't mind. I know that we want to be sensitive to your time and the viewers' time, and I don't want to not miss this question. So, I'm actually happy to say I'm doing a bucket list hunt this year. I'm 46 and it's finally happening. I'm going after some free range Sika deer. So my question to you tonight, since the viewers took all the good questions, was, are you familiar with Sika deer anatomy, and where could I find some resource on how to shoot those little buggers?
I am not, and that's one of the things.
They're like muskrats with antlers, but they bugle and they're delicious. So
I tell you what, one of the things that I want to do, because this anatomy hunter, I get podcasts all the time. I got another one I'm doing Monday, and I got another one lining up, and so I get asked to speak. I just got back, but we're pulled with our time because I got a sculpture for Reinhardt to do this. What I want to spend my time on is going on hunts and doing that. I would just love to be there at a camp where there's going to be a bunch of these shot, so then I could examine them and do it. I'm going to Texas probably this winter to do it. I'm going to Ohio. I met the guy, by the way, that if you want to have a podcast, Rob, I met a guy that could be the #1 whitetail expert at experience and knowledge in the world. I met him at the ATA and he invited me to come down there to Ohio, and he came up here to spend 2 days with me. I mean, he shot 14 Boone and Crockett's with his bow. Wow. They paid $6,000 to spend 2 days just to analyze his property. There's some of these big bucks you see on TV. He's behind the scenes guy. They pay him and you have to sign a non-disclosure about how to kill them and what to do. This guy is so sharp. I didn't believe there's a human being alive this sharp. And he's invited me to come down there and hunt with him. We're having one of the living legends One of the first guy to ever shoot the Grand Slam. He's a medical doctor coming down. I've worked with for years. Talked to him at the ATA on anatomy and stuff. So I am thrilled that hopefully he's going to shoot a deer, get to examine it.
Time flies when you're around people like that, doesn't it? You never have enough time to talk to them at all.
Sponge. I like talking to you, though. You're the guy that knows a lot. I am shocked.
No, but I know what you mean. Like, I interned when I was a young man 20 years ago. I interned at a breeding facility where we could go out and we'd like dart the fawns and stuff, and I know what you mean. Like, when you get around those guys that you're talking about that really, really know everything, you don't have enough time around them. Like, an hour is nothing. Their stories, everything's a lesson. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right.
When's that trip to Ohio?
The end of October, the 1st of November, right in there. I'm trying to get the owner of Reinhardt Targets to go down there, and he can't go there the 31st, so we're trying to get it done. But I may even go down there twice. We may have a doe. We may go down there for some does. Because remember, I need numbers, and I need them shot. And I could literally go down there with my grinder. We shoot a bunch of does, and I grind the meat up because I want to live as much as possible totally off organic wild meat.
Yeah. Well, here's another question. What are you doing the second week of October?
What you got in mind?
It's opening bear season in Jersey. I've been baiting about 6 or 7 spots so far. I've got a couple really good bears.
I was gonna say, come to North Carolina too.
Yeah, I'm gonna be putting a few people on them. But if you're interested, and I'm sure, few of us are going to be getting on them. The Lord willing, God forbid. I mean, obviously anything could happen. You never know. I've sat after baiting for 2 months and didn't see anything. But
okay, now when is this, Rob? You said in the middle of October?
Second week of October. I believe it's the 14th, the 19th.
Oh, I'll be Sika hunting.
And there'll be bears there there'll be bears there. How many different bears you think could be shot? Because I got to weigh me going out there and being able to.
No, absolutely. I would hope at least 3 or 4.
Okay, and you got a place that I could examine them, that we could do it together?
Yeah.
Because then you could use a lot of the footage. We could do it together. You could use it for your show here, right?
Yeah. So if you're interested, I'll leave it out there.
I'm looking to do, okay, this is archery?
Yes, sir.
How far is the shots? Tree stands, ground blinds? What do you?
Tree stands, ground blinds, 20 yards.
Okay, because 20 yards, I'm one of those. That's my maximum shot.
Yeah.
Same. I don't take long pokes. I don't like it.
No, not on a bear.
I don't in general. Maybe because I live in the jungle, I don't really get long pokes, but I just don't.
Well, I usually set all my shots up like you guys with 25, 30 yards max. I like something close. I like that chip shot.
15 to 20.
Once again, nothing's guaranteed. Something can go wrong, but
of course. But you think you've got something going there. If I came there, they'd get one. I'd have a chance. Oh, my wife's going to look at me. We're always going. But this is what I want to do for the Anatomy Hunter. I mean, this is just exactly what I want to do. I get to meet you. And because remember, I wanted to interview you about all your cop stuff and everything that you.
Well, here's the other thing. Every bear has to go and get checked in at a check station.
Oh, I like it. And I can get a tag over the counter, huh?
Over the counter.
Yeah. And you've got the bears going. I don't care about a monster bear. I mean, what I'm trying to get right now is this one that's here is 240 pounds. I need his heart. And when we were working on him, we lost his heart. When I found it, it was a shame, because what I would do if I come out there, if we get the right size heart, I literally would mold the heart right away.
Yep.
And I wanted to do, my son's doing a camera hunt on bears the 1st of September, but that's in northern Minnesota. So yeah. Now let me ask you this. What about the other people there and about them videotaping their hunts?
Yeah. Well, so
what do they have for cameras? In other words, if we come there, because it's really great for people to watch this stuff, to see the hunt. Oh man, that's cool. And then we do the examination. We go through the whole thing. That makes it exciting as opposed to just a dead animal and we look at it.
Yeah.
So how many of them do you think could actually videotape their hunts? I got some other cameras that aren't the
so
best.
Actually, cool. Probably a couple of us, and I know other hunters that are going to be besides me that are hitting their own spots that also film their hunts.
And they're going to be accessible to us if they get a bear?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
If we got a number of people there and I'd have a chance of getting a bear there and we have the cameras, we work out, we get on the same page so we know what we're wanting to do.
Correct.
Because again, you got to have a bear there. We got to skin it out. Who's going to do what with the bear, with the meat, what I can do with it. Because
Yeah. Well, we'll talk. We'll talk after this, just to make sure everything's lined up. I'll talk to people to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, that would be great.
Chris is going to film his hunt. I'm going to film my hunt.
Chris isn't gonna kill anything.
This year he's going to get one. I have faith. I got faith.
Bring
Chris.
a crossbow with a scope that's on it that's got a camera on it.
Perfect.
Good quality camera. If somebody would be willing, not for me, but if somebody else would want to for sure film it, they don't have a camera, but if they use this crossbow, if it didn't matter to them, they could automatically film it. That.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a bunch of people that hunt. Yeah.
That's smart.
Absolutely.
And this is New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
I thought you got to call it New Jersey.
Yeah. I guess if you're from there, maybe.
That's funny.
Wow. Okay. Well, no, that's if I could make it work, it would work out logistically for getting bears, examining them, doing it. I absolutely would.
Yeah. A couple spots. I mean, I don't want to get into my tactics right now.
Sure.
But
come on, spill it.
No, I can't. There's too many people listening. I don't want to give away my secrets.
What's your tactics? You got some secret bait?
Oh, we don't need to know much. Just what do you use for bait and where?
So, all right. So we can get into the bait. We're going to be having that gentleman actually on. His name is Kelsey Burgess. He used to be one of the New Jersey wildlife biologists.
Wow.
So he has tagged, he has trapped, he has done everything with the bears in New Jersey for 17 years.
Oh, man.
He is the guy to talk to for you. He started a company called Swizzle Stick Bear Bait down in Hackettstown, New Jersey. Once again, we're going to be having him on. I'm going to be doing a couple posts for him. I just got 4 55-gallon drums filled with Reese's Pieces, Pop-Tarts, Oreo cookies, trail mix, sugar cookies, peanuts, and another type of nut. And then he also gave me 8 2-gallon buckets of cake frosting.
Can I ask you guys a question? You guys do, Brian, you bear hunt, right? You said you're talking about bears a lot, right? Like you seem, so down here in North Carolina, something that's really weird to me, and maybe you guys can answer this for me, because we obviously have the biggest bears in the world. We 700-800 pound, what was it, 300 Boone and Crockett entries last year or something like that. Why do they use so much popcorn here? Isn't that weird? Like, to me, that seems so bizarre. But I know guys that use, and I know that we have rules here against processed food, so I get it. But versus brassicas, molasses, corn, they use popcorn. Why is that?
I can tell you one of the reasons is up in Canada. I do all my hunting in Canada because in Wisconsin, they hunt with dogs here, and they're always fighting with each other. And I don't want any drama in my life, so I don't do it. They use popcorn because it's lightweight and it's cheap. They also use.
Do they really like it like that? I can see if you're hunting seagulls.
Yeah. So we had on Amanda Lynn Mayhew, who's one of the top female hunters in Canada. We had her on the show, and she was talking about popcorn. And what they do is they get these big drums, they poke holes in them, they fill them with popcorn, and then it's kind of on a spinner. So the bears will sit there, play with it, and they'll drop just every once in a while another piece of popcorn. She said the bears just sit there for hours, and she goes,
this old redneck told me because the bears are hungry more often. And what's funny is, like, you like to discount these types of fellows, but sometimes there's a little truth in what they're saying. And I wonder, like, if not feeding them, say, a 30-pound carp versus some popcorn maybe there's a little truth there. I wonder.
You'd be surprised when you go up in Canada, they won't touch a fish if you give it to them.
Really? Yeah, that's amazing.
I've tried. I went up there this year. I was spending $50 a day, and I called it a Walmart bear. I just went there and bought everything sweet that I could. I got all the bear bait. I've just thrown it out there because bears are like humans. Different ones like different things. And in the spring, they're so fussy, they'll come into a bait and leave and won't even eat.
Yeah.
They're interested in grass. In the fall, they go through hyperphagia where they just eat everything. They want to get as fat as they can. But the food that they like, that they want, that you get on is everything. So,
I know they love molasses. I stopped using it. So I don't use minerals for like in the summer to get deer pictures. But I used to use molasses. I'd pour that out like late summer, try to get some inventory. That was like a trick you could do elsewhere, but here where I live in the Piedmont of North Carolina, I only did that for 2 seasons because, I mean, the minute you pour that jug out, you just have bears until it's gone. Like, forget about the deer pictures. So I learned that kind of here where, yeah, I know they love molasses. If you pour that out trying to get deer pictures, you'll just get a ton of bears.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different things that we can do.
Oh yeah, that's fun. It's fun doing that and watching.
It is fun. That's what I love about it. The hunting part is so small. Like I'll sit there and hit these spots and check cameras. Like literally, I've been doing it now for almost a month, and I'll hit it every single week until opening day. And then like last season, by 7 o'clock in the morning, I was done. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, well, now what? Now what do I do?
Well, how many baits do you have out?
It's going to be a total of 7 this year.
You have how many are getting hit?
All of them.
How many have got multiple bears?
All of them. There's so many bears in Jersey, it's not even funny.
He's about to buy a tag as soon as he hangs up here.
Yeah.
They're
not on sale yet. You can't buy them yet.
Really?
Marital problems because you're sweet in the pot there.
Listen, they are so overpopulated, and they stopped the hunt for a few years, which I was honestly happy about, and I didn't want them to bring it back yet because I figured the big bears are just going to keep getting bigger because nobody was taking them out, and that's actually now coming true. Where this year I think I probably have at least 2 500-pounders, and then just a ton of 300 and then down, so.
If you got a scale there to weigh them?
Yeah, I have a scale.
Now, do you think your buddy, the biologist, would be able to be there if I came?
Yeah, I could talk to him.
Because that to me, I think I could stay out of divorce court if I could say, hey, I get to go work with a bear biologist there. We examine things together.
Maybe have him come on the last day or something. That
Absolutely.
way you guys would
we can do that.
Oh yeah. No, it would be that. Then I would have a lot more knowledge and go through a lot of things there because I've got.
Oh God, talking to him when I went down to get all this bait and stuff.
Yeah,
I could have sat there for days. Just the information that he was giving me that I didn't even think about.
New Jersey's going to end up like Gatlinburg. Have you guys been out to Tennessee?
No.
It's terrible. We went out on family vacation and we got this VRBO like cabin rental in the mountains, and we pulled in and we went in to check out our log cabin that we rented. We were in there maybe 15 minutes looking at all the bedrooms and stuff, and we came out and our cooler got ransacked in the back of the pickup.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's crazy, and there's a lot of protesters that don't want the bear hunt. That's always kind of going on. But like some of the stuff that he shared with me, like some of these really big bears, I swear it's like the week before the season starts, they're nocturnal and they're not coming in during the light. So now I'm asking him, how do you get these big bears to come in during the light? And he said, unless you're willing to put in the time, you don't live close enough to do it. You don't live close enough to be able to fix that problem. And I was like, well, how do you fix it? And hopefully somebody can learn from this who's listening right now. He said, you go put the bait out. At the end of the day, you take it out. He goes, they're going to smell it.
Like a timed feeder. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, so that they're going to smell it and they're going to have to come in when it's there. And then you're going to get them on that timer.
That's how they've been killing deer in Texas for 20 years.
It's nuts. And I was like, he was like, but you got to do that every single day. And he's like, you don't live close enough. Because for me, I'm about 45 minutes away.
I see.
But literally, and that's why I go once a week. I crush these spots, and it's like an all-day thing. And then I got to go home and sleep. But this is what I love. Like I love bear hunting now.
What do you do for a spray? Do you have any used cooking oil that you put the special sauce in with? That they sell here?
I haven't gotten any of that. I did make my own mix for spray. I got hooked up with a company called Boar Master, and they had sent me some stuff. But basically what I'm doing now, and I'm going to give away another secret.
Brian, if we keep him on here for another 20 minutes, we'll get all of his secrets out of him.
Yeah, right?
We're doing good. We're doing good. No,
Yeah.
no. Okay, it's just between us, buddy. That's all, Rob.
Yeah, yeah, and everybody else listening. So it's distilled water, maple syrup.
Okay.
So you use the distilled water because it's not going to mold and go bad inside the bottle if you don't use it all.
Wow. Yeah, there you go.
So that's why you use the distilled maple syrup, molasses, chocolate syrup, and anise or anise. I don't know.
You mix that all together?
You shake it all up, you spray it, and like you're gonna catch. I know it sounds like a lot. You can actually smell each smell. It's weird. Listen, when you come down, you'll see.
Well, I could bring some stuff, but one of the things in bear hunting they tell you is you never bring something new because something good could scare them away. When they get used to something, you don't change it. But what they do up here and they do in Canada is they get used cooking oil in a restaurant. And you take that and they've got up here, and because there's a lot of scent companies right around by where we live, Wisconsin's a big bear deal here. And they have one of the products called Gold Rush, and you mix it in a little tube of it in 5 gallons of used cooking oil. And then you go to Walmart and you get a kid's big sprayer, those big tubes. You suck it up and you shoot it way up in the trees.
Yeah.
That's what they claim is the number one secret to be able to keep the scent in the air from coming back.
The other thing, which is another thing that hopefully somebody can learn from this, you pour it all over the bait site. You get that used cooking oil,
okay,
or molasses, or what else was there? Like Moultrie makes like a syrup. It's like a jelly donut syrup kind of stuff, and they have apple. And you pour it all around your bait site. So now all these bears are coming in, it's getting on their paws, and now they're all going their different routes. Yeah. And now all the other bears that cut through those routes are going to smell that and now start coming in on these kind of like trails that they're making.
Same principle as whitetails with interdigital breadcrumbs, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was another, and that's absolutely, So there's so many different things that I've now learned over the years, and I still have so much more learning to do, and I want to learn. Like, I want to learn everything.
But they're different. I had one up in Canada. I had strawberry, what do they call it, for donut filling?
Yep.
And this bear absolutely hated it.
Really?
And that's where I'm I don't like this. This is just me personal. So I don't know anything. I don't like mixing all the stuff together. Because this bear went through there and he did everything he could to push that strawberry stuff out of there.
Yeah.
The other stuff. I mean, wouldn't you think it's strawberry? It's sugary. He did not want it. When I shot him,
big fish are the same way. You can't just put a rattler and a flasher and this and that on every rig. You might, you're gonna find a fish that only wants a rattle or only wants the flasher or doesn't want either. I agree with that. I think just throwing everything at them can be.
Yeah. That was also something that the biologist Kelsey Burgess said to me. He goes, "You have all this bait," and he puts it all, like he takes a scoop from each one and just jumps it into the 55-gallon drum. So everything's all mixed up. And he goes, "This is what you're going to do. You're going to put it out in every single spot, and you're going to see what gets left." He goes, "There are bears that aren't going to touch the Oreo cookie. There's bears that aren't going to touch the Pop-Tarts." He goes, "So next time you come back, we're not going to give you that. We'll give you the other stuff that it crushed." So once again, just like you're saying, they're picky.
In that sense, it's brilliant because you're just casting a large net to see what that individual animal's preference is, and I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, in Minnesota now, because we just got back from the shoulder, and there's a lot of guides from Minnesota, and they said their biggest problem is acorns. They could have them fed coming in every day on a string, but as soon as those acorns drop, bam, they're going to go for that natural food more than anything that we can put out there.
Especially the white oaks, right? I know they love
white oak acorns,
I see them,
Yeah. So what do you have in New Jersey? What's the natural food that the bears eat?
Berries.
So they're going to be there. So that you're competing with a berry.
Yeah.
How good the hatch is that year.
Is that raspberries and blackberries, or are you guys getting into like?
Yeah, raspberries, blackberries, also acorns.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we have acorns. Yeah. Some of these spots, some of the really good bears are in swampy areas, you know. And
You guys have blueberries and grapes, wild grapes. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's, you know, but some of these spots are different. You know, sometimes some of the places they're mountain bears, other places they're swamp bears.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that they travel and they move, but
That's like here, you get a coastal bear, and all he's doing is slurping up oysters and clams all day.
and that's why they're getting so big.
You're just living in the salt marsh, eating conch.
Yeah, but we'll talk more after this. You know, it might work out. Hopefully, it does. If not, you know, there's always the next year.
Well, it sounds exciting.
So, can I ask one last question, Brian, to try to bring this thing full circle?
Yes, sir.
You started out talking about 1974. You started doing taxidermy. Rattled off a handful of material that you is preferred material, and can you speak a little bit to like what that evolution? Can you touch back on that? I mentioned chainsaw and sculpt, but for a typical neck mount, let's say shoulder mount for a whitetail, how has that evolved? If you could only choose one, what would it be?
As far as hopefully, I had a good part to play with it, and it has to do with the length of the legs on deer and the anatomy that's on them and how they've improved in different positions. If you go and check out Revolution Taxidermy Supply, it's owned by McKenzie now, but if you go in their catalog and see it, I came up with, and I don't like saying I, like here it's talking about me. I specialized in different positions because what I want to do is create life. I want to have expressions when you see an animal. These people that the taxidermists that go to competitions to win ribbons, the best whitetail taxidermist that I know of in the United States couldn't even come close to winning a ribbon because he does a bunch of dumb things as far as what they would want. He uses Bondo ears, all this stuff. But his expression of what he lives to get and what he gets looks like a deer. And it speaks to me. And that's what I want when I look at something. Whoa, I can't take my eyes off it. It's beautiful. It's got that look, that live expression. In fact, what we're doing right now is we've got what they call man cave bucks. If I can show you here. You see these deer behind you there? Can you see them? See those ones up on the wall up there? Do you see them? Am I turning that right there? Yep. Those are man cave bucks. Those are an artificial deer, like an artificial fish that I invented. Because like I said, I've got a lot of patents on a lot of different things that my son's going to start a business with. And they're designed for the guy that does not want to spend as much money on a shoulder mount. They get a smaller deer. They find some sheds. They have an old rack laying around. It's a way to get an in-between price between a shoulder mount and a European mount.
I had a hard question for you today, and I didn't ask it, and now I regret it because of your answer there.
Well,
and I'll save it for the next time we speak, but it was on that topic. It was essentially, I'll summarize it down, but essentially it was, why is it okay to mount a fish that you catch and release based off a picture, but traditionally people frown on mounting a whitetail off a trail camera picture or off sheds. And I had a longer version of that. I'll save it for next time, but we think alike, and I actually appreciated your last answer.
Oh, good. Well, I appreciate all I learned from you. And your buddy that had that question that I couldn't answer, I would like him if he gets back to you, because you know who Hatch was or Squatch was.
Yep.
I would like to know about this flap, what this is. I mean, that's intriguing. I need to know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Was there one more thing I wanted to ask you? I feel like
cost of an out-of-state New Jersey tag. That's what you want to ask me.
Yes. No, absolutely. That bear mount, or not the mount, the target.
Yeah.
That you just did a post with.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is one of the coolest targets I have ever seen in my entire life.
You know why I did it?
Why?
Remember I told you I took 2 years off?
Yeah.
I did it on my 2 years off. Because remember I told you Reinhardt's not interested in my patent idea?
Yeah.
I told him I did that target. Turned out pretty good, huh?
It's amazing.
I want you to make my deer target.
So
that's why I did it.
Real quick, one more story, and then we'll get off, because we've taken a lot of your time, and I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate your guys' time.
I shot this bear years ago. At this point, I was still new to bear hunting. I was using a Montec. I've always learned from my father, you could kill anything with a field point if you hit it in the right spot. And I used a Montec. It was a smaller blade. I was learning, and I hit a bear a little farther forward than I would have liked. I hit it like a deer, kind of in the shoulder, behind the shoulder. Took off, lots of blood, bumped it in a swamp, put another arrow into it, took off out the backside. And I've said the story on here before. It went up a mountain. Like, we must have gone a half a mile, chasing this bear. I knew it was big. I just didn't know how big. And we get to this down tree, and all the branches are facing us. I step over. I'm on the high side of the hill. My buddy's walking on, the downside, and we're walking parallel to this entire tree. And we get to, the berm where the roots are. I remember thinking to myself, I should knock an arrow and be ready. I was like, this bear's going to be here. I knew it. I was like, this bear's going to be here. We both broke the plane of this root system, and this bear was leaning up against the rocks right on the other side of it, sitting on its ass. And it was 1.5 feet, 2 feet taller than we were. And it scared the living Jesus out of me.
Hopefully it scared the living Jesus into you is what we want.
It died that way, or was it looking at you?
No, it was alive, and it dropped down, and it
That's
literally.
Because I've done that with whitetails where they're kind of cocked up, and you think they're sitting there, and they're not, and you walk right up to them. Then I had another buck I shot one time that was sitting like that, and I walked up to him, and he actually was looking at me.
Yeah. No, and this thing dropped down literally face to face with my buddy. This must have been a 600 or 700 pound black bear. I mean, it was gigantic, and it took off. We went looking for it. I went back 3 days in a row. I went with a dog. I went with my buddy. Like, we did everything that we could to find this bear, and it killed me that I lost this bear, and I never found it. But your target literally reminded me of that bear. When I saw it, I was like, that's incredible. Like, that's awesome. So awesome job. Just please don't stop doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is helping hunters.
Well, that's why I need your guys' help, because I need something to go behind to keep me going. And I
Absolutely.
need, just to give you an example how hard it is, Reinhardt donated 5 elk targets last year for me to give away for prizes. People sending films in. You know how many films I got sent in? 0.
No.
0. Never gave away anything.
Wow.
So right now, at the end of every deal that we're doing, we got a little commercial that every week we've been running something. We've been trying to do it, but I'm not a business guy and I'm not a marketer, but I haven't broken the ice where people would want to get it put on there. Because I mean, I've got a video editor in Texas, this young guy who's absolutely great, and he's basically half donating his time. I pay him a couple $1,000 every couple of 2-3 months, but he puts in tons of time. We talk every day.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he's doing it, but he
believes in your channel. You have a great message and a great system, and
Absolutely.
you have great dedication. But the one thing that I really took away from everything was you have great energy, and it's an inspiration.
Absolutely.
Him up above, which is why I'm doing this, my friend.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway, Brian, if you can, please tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes,
website,
out, and then we'll be able to put what you did on our website.
Absolutely. We're going to talk. We're definitely going to talk a lot.
Sounds good, Mr. Rob. Nice meeting you, Mr. Expert Hunter. All your experience.
Not me, but I'll reach out to you though, Brian, and we'll get together. I'll do a submission. We'll figure out what you want. Maybe we'll do a shotgun deer or something. Yeah,
absolutely. Anything we can do to help you and help whatever you need done, just please let us know.
Talk to New Jersey. The more bears we have where they're shot, I would work with you in the middle where we shoot them at, what broadheads we use, because just real quick on bears, if you're shooting back farther on bears, because the lungs on a bear are more pointed in the front. I could show you by the one that I've got right here, right there. Okay. So if you shoot back farther, you risk hitting the guts, and the ribs on a bear are smaller than the ribs on a deer. Thus, you could go with the bigger broadhead. So depending on the poundage of your bow, the bigger broadhead that you can get away with, if you may end up hitting the stomach, the better it is. So that's where, when my son went up there to hunt and we went back to do it, he used a 3-inch schwacker. And he came out in the middle of the middle and he hit both lungs and didn't go very far.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
But I only shoot because I got a badge. I can only shoot 54.5 pounds. So my Exodus is my baby.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It works.
No, yeah.
Funny.
So, all right. Well, anyway, also before we end, one of our sponsors is Cutright Mobile. It's an app that talks about field dressing, actually. So if everybody can go over, check them out. It's Cutright Mobile on Instagram, Facebook, and check out the app. With that being said, Brian, where can people find your page, your information?
AnatomyHunter.org.
All righty. And how about your Instagram?
I guess AnatomyHunter.org too.
All righty.
Yes.
So everybody go over, check them out. Brian, once again, thank you so much for being on with us tonight.
It was nice to meet you.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet both of you gentlemen. You're very kind, very knowledgeable. Thanks.
Awesome.
Have a good
Brandon,
night,
thank
Rob.
you so much. Thank you so much for coming on with
No,
me.
anytime. You know what I mean? I don't really have a life, so, I'll fill in whenever.
So,
Till deer season gets here, then don't call me. No, I'm just kidding.
nah,
Right. All right.
I'll see you guys.
We'll see you in New Jersey, Rob.
absolutely. I'll when we get off, I'll shoot you a couple messages.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't send me any trail camera photos of those bears. Do not do that. Do not do that. You're causing divorce court here, my friend.
That's funny. Hey, listen, bring her with you.
Well, I'd bring her, my son.
There you go. Absolutely. Listen, tags are over the counter.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's exciting.
It's only $2.
Good.
Bear tags are only $200.
That sounds great. It's a lot cheaper than the 2,000 I pay up there in Canada.
Oh, Jesus, no. Well, you have to get the regular tags that are 170, which is annoying for the bear tag that's $2, but it is what it is.
No, that's cheap. So, all right. Have a good one, my friends.
We'll
All
see
right,
you, fellas.
thanks,
Stay safe. Thanks, Brian.